So we are recording this. We're recording this on Facebook Live. Again, Radek, VP of Engineering at Nozbe, and Michael, me, the CEO and founder of Nozbe. Remote work. People are being forced right now to do remote work. And yesterday we talked. We had a chance to talk about how to like I'm at home now. What? So situation. And today the idea is that we talk more about the actual tools, so the actual apps that we use to do remote work. Well, because at Nozbe, in our company, we've been running this company for 13 years, and it's all remote. Everybody's in their home office. This is my home office. This is Radek's home office somewhere, and we all work from our homes. And of course, this situation is a bit more critical because like people are being really forced to do remote work. And if you're not being forced to do remote work, talk to your boss. Like life is more important than whatever is that you're doing, unless you're saving lives. So talk to your boss about a possibility to do remote work. And today, let's talk about apps. Let's go very practical in this episode, right?
That's right. I want to be clear with one thing. We have an idea to talk to you about apps, to teach you about the tools we're using and you could be using to do remote work. But really ask us anything, like whatever question you have about remote work, working from home, bring it to us via Facebook, Periscope, Instagram, and we'll answer it.
Yeah. All right. So let's start from the top up, from like how to talk to people when you're at home. So of course you can use the telephone. Like people still used to dial telephones. Like this is still a thing in 2020. But usually what we do some kind of video conferencing or some kind of video conferencing tool. And usually people would default to Skype, because Skype was at the beginning of internet video voice over IP revolution. It was the first and the best actually. A tool, and we've been using Skype in our company as well, but it's been very unreliable for us, unstable. So we switched to something else. And we use the same tool for webinars, and we use the same tool, which we haven't been doing for many years now. But we still use it for the Facebook Live actually. So we use a tool called Zoom, right?
Yeah. So actually, video conferencing is not something we would normally recommend as the best, the preferable tool to communicate with your team while working remotely. But we're starting here because this is going to be the first thing people who work from home for the first time, that's what you'll choose, because that's what you'll seem to you as the best thing, because it's closest to what you're used to working at the office, because you can see other people. Right. So we'll talk about the nuances of what are the problems with this. But if you do video calls or audio calls, definitely recommending Zoom. It's in our experience trying out Skype, trying out Hangouts, other things, Zoom has just been the most reliable thing.
Yeah. So the cool thing about Zoom is, like, again, we're trying also to explain to you that, these tools don't have to be expensive. So Zoom is, as far as I remember, it's free up to 40 minutes. And then if you want to have longer conversations, then it costs money. And then you have when you want additional features, like I think this Facebook Live integration and webinars, it costs additional money. But the cool thing is that it's 40 minutes. So actually it forces you to be brief. so it's actually a feature, not a bug. But the cool thing is that you can set up a Zoom room. So the same link where people can go to, which is just so good. Like, so there's no such thing as somebody has to initiate a Skype call or something like that. No, you set up a Zoom room, so one link for this particular meeting, let's say, and then everybody knows that at the, when we meet, we just meet on this, with this link. So for me, this is one of the best features of Zoom. And second best feature is that it's just mobile. So I can use Zoom on my phone. I can use Zoom on my iPad. Of course, it's not as robust. I cannot see as many people as on my Mac, but still, we've been doing video conferencing for many years we're using Zoom, and I've been participating more than I can count on my iPad and on my iPhone, and the same goes to Android. It's very, very good for that. So very mobile. That's why it's very good for remote work.
Okay, so this is actually a great tip, Michael, to create rooms on Zoom, because if you're just forced to work from home, zero preparation, you'll probably pick a tool you already have, like texting each other via Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, depending on which country you live in and which one is more popular, and just send each other Skype links, right? And
Yeah.
it's a mess, right? Like you'll be very distracted managing all of this. Set up a place where you know where the links to different meeting channels are. We have meeting channels for different common meetings or for different teams, right? So we have a dev room on the Zoom. We have marketing. We got the podcast for me and Michael recording our podcast, the podcast.fm. We have directors for the VPs and C-suite managers, I guess. What else we have? We have support.
Yeah.
We
So
have
yeah, and so yeah, we have all these links, and the cool thing about these links is you can put them in one place where everybody can find them, and this way people just know where to search for these links, right? So because I want to go through more tools than Zoom today, so let's go to Slack, which is our another tool to communicate. We use this as a chat, basically message. So in Slack, what you can do, you can create channels, and in each channel, like for example, as you said, dev channel, for example, for dev talk, like developers are talking, and then then you can set a channel topic. So as a channel topic, we usually do is we put the Zoom link. This way, when there is a meeting via Zoom, we just click on this link and just go to this meeting. So it's very easy to find. You don't have to actually search for the Zoom room, for the Zoom room link.
All right, Slack. This is a pretty important tool. Slack is not the only thing you could use for chat. There are alternatives. We use Slack. Slack is very popular. But the point here is that being on a video call all the time will drive you completely nuts.
Yes.
Like this is not the way to replace an office with working from home by just having a constant video call between all your employees. I know some people are actually trying to do it, but please don't. This is not going to work very well. You don't need to be like second to second communication all the time. So that the next step kind of down, but more of the time, will be text chat. So I know a lot of companies who are not used to working from home will just use whatever chat they use day to day to chat with their friends, like Messenger and WhatsApp. And on WhatsApp, you can have WhatsApp groups. Well, not only on WhatsApp, you can have groups for certain things, but it gets very messy very quickly because WhatsApp is not a tool made for people collaborating in a company, in a team. So the good thing about having a Slack account and having everyone in the company be on Slack is that, again, you have different channels for different purposes, right? So you don't have to be on a video call all the time. And if you need something from just one person, you send a direct message to that person, and it's going to be on Slack, not on Messenger or WhatsApp where people have their private stuff. If you need to talk to two people, make a group conversation with two people and make a bunch of channels, right? For different areas of the company, for different teams, for different projects. And most of the time, you can just shoot something on Slack. You don't need an immediate answer. Someone can answer in a few minutes. As you'll learn as you get good at remote work, you'll find out that you don't even need that most of the time. You don't need an answer immediately on almost anything. But this is still better than being on a video call all the time. Right, Michael? I want to take a brief pause from our tools talk because there's a lot of questions. So I'll start with Ivan Kurilov. How do you keep team members on tasks? I think that's from Facebook. So I'm not 100% sure if I got this question correctly, but if you mean how do I keep people focused on work, two things. First of all, set your expectations right. This is an unusual time. This is not a normal situation. And for many days, maybe for weeks, expect people to be less productive. I mean, you and I, Michael, we've been working together for 8 years. We've been working remotely this long, even longer, and we've always worked from home. Like,
Yes.
if you put us in the office and told us not to use any of the tools we use right now, like it would take us a few weeks to figure it out. And in addition
Yes.
to this, for people, it's much harder right now because many of them have kids to take care of. It's just a change, right? So expect people to be less productive for a while, right? Like, don't
Yeah.
expect people to be at their top from day one. It's just not a reasonable expectation, and it's not fair to people who have to figure out their life in when they're quarantined. So that's one thing. Second thing, after we get over that, how do we keep people focused? Well, the most important thing about getting people staying on tasks is finding focus. Just this, right?
Don't disturb them. Don't ask them all
Yes.
the time. It requires trust. With something we talked yesterday about. Like, it requires trust that when I send you a task, Raju, you're gonna deal with it. Like, if you don't, if you and you know, if you don't confirm me that you have received the task, if you don't confirm that that you've done it, and it's been a while, I'm gonna ping and ask you, hey, how is doing? Everything is okay. But other than that, I'm gonna leave you alone to make sure that you get it done. And I think this is something that people will learn now that they're working from home, that they can find this if they have the kids, managed, everything is managed, and they're not afraid of their life. They should be really find space that nobody's disturbing them, nobody's pinging them all the time or tapping them on the shoulder. Like, just let them work. Like, trust is the key thing of remote work, but it requires both ways. So, like you said, we've been working together for 8 years. I have no idea if you're like slacking off or not. I don't know. Like, I frankly don't want to know. But from the results you've been delivering, I'm happy. So I'm good. Like,
Yes.
that's the thing.
That's the thing about trust in a workplace. Many managers who are not used to people working from home ask us this question all the time. How do I know that people are working if I can't see them behind their desk? Well, how do you know they're working if you do see them behind their desk? I mean, do you have friends who work in an office? Are all of them 100% productive all the time? Are all of them workaholics? Do you not know people who are in the office whose managers do see them behind the desk and who slack off all the time, who are on Facebook, Twitter, not focused on work? Like, a lot of people do that. And the thing is, when you're working from home, you don't have the opportunity to think like that. So you can only judge by the only thing that really matters: results, right?
Yes.
If you have an employee and you're not seeing them deliver results, and not just one day, not just 1 week, not during the first couple of weeks of a global pandemic, which throws people totally off their balance, but like consistently see them not delivering results. What do you care if it's because they're only working 1 hour a day or if they're not fully qualified for the job? It doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah. So that's so one of the tools. I mean, so these tools that we just mentioned, Zoom and Slack, unfortunately can be abused for that. So both Zoom, by just requiring you to be on the call or Zoom call all the time or very often, or just having too many Zoom calls, too many video conferencing things. Second, Slack, the same thing, just pinging people on Slack all the time. It's disturbing. It's annoying. Like, you have to watch out not to abuse Slack, not to put too many messages on Slack, because then people feel like this FOMO, fear of missing out, and want to join Slack and see what's up. That's why we try. That's why then the third tool that we wanted to mention is our tool Nozbe, which is not just an ad for our tool, but just the way it's structured. We have projects, tasks, and comments, and this is where we actually assign the tasks. This is where we put stuff that has to be done. So whenever, for example, there is a conversation on Slack about something, we just like, okay, so you want me to do this? Okay, create a task for me. I'm going to create a task for myself to do this. And then the task is being created in Nozbe. and then from there there we comment on the task if necessary, and then the task gets done. So the follow-up goes to Nozbe. That's why we have the structure, because if we talk too much on Slack, then we just forget about like exactly what needs to be done, and we forget what's really actionable. So assigning tasks goes through our system, goes through Nozbe. This is what, so Nozbe, our tool that we use and that we build, is a key to the ingredients to all this.
Yeah. So again, just like with Slack and with Zoom, there are many alternatives. Find whatever works for you. The key point is you need some tool, whether it's Nozbe or something else, where you can just put things where they're structured, right? So you need some sort of list with tasks that are assigned to someone. And in Nozbe, like it's not just a to-do list, but each of those items has a list of comments, right? So the point here is you can work with someone much more efficiently much of the time, because you don't have to distract them with constant pinging on Slack or being on a 24/7 video chat on Zoom, right? Like you have a place where if something doesn't need to get done today, it just needs to get done, then you have the list where all the work on this particular task is there, right?
Yeah.
With this task, which is assigned to someone. So if you just have like email conversations about this, it will get totally lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have some sort of to-do list, some sort of assignment system, but you hash out the details over Slack, then if someone else wants to see what happened of it, like they won't. It will get lost. And the only solution to that is everybody has to be on all the meetings. Everybody has to be, see everything that's happening on chat, and it's madness, right? So video chat is great. You can hash something out really quickly. Chat is there too. It's a little less fidelity, but it's less intrusive. And then a tool like Nozbe is kind of another step, like bottom of the kind of hierarchy or pyramid, as you like to call it, Michael, right? Like it's where we do most of the work, where we do most of the communication in the team, because it's least intrusive. And yeah, it might not be the best tool if you need something done right now, but it's least intrusive, right? So this way you allow people to find more uninterrupted time to focus on their work, right?
Yes.
Because they're not constantly pinged on Slack and they're not constantly on video meetings.
Yeah, so very often, like what we find ourselves doing is even copying like a whole message thread from Slack as a comment to Nozbe to this task, because we want to have the context of this task in there. So we want to have all the information about this task in Nozbe. So that's another tool that we use. And yeah.
I want to get back to comments because there's a lot of them and we have a backlog. Okay. So first of all, Neely Patrika, I hope I didn't mess that up. Thank you for all the comments on Instagram and summarizing what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So Neely is asking, so we should consider Nozbe for our internal ticketing, work assignments for our product launch of web app. Yeah, that's what we do, frankly. I mean, for
we use
software
Nozbe to build Nozbe.
Yeah. At Nozbe, we use Nozbe to build Nozbe. So there are more specific tools for different industries, right? For software development, you might track tasks on GitHub, but it's more specific to software development. That's good. On the other hand, it's less built out, right? And you have something like Jira, but ask anyone, any software developer, what they think about Jira. Nobody likes Jira. It has everything, but it's not a pleasant tool to use, like maybe if you have a huge organization and you have tens of thousands of tickets, then yeah, Nozbe wouldn't work, and something like Jira might. So yeah, it's definitely going to depend on your specific use case. But yeah, like at Nozbe, we just used Nozbe.
Yeah. So what we'll talk in the future episodes of this, like every day at the same time, we'll be doing this for the rest of the week. And at what point we'll talk more about Nozbe Teams, which is a new Nozbe app that we will be launching very very soon. That is specifically for this to work with tasks and projects in a team, like just built for that. Like because what we use, so what we do is we ban emails internally. So we don't send emails to each other. We send
Yeah.
tasks to each other. We use emails. So still, you can still email me at michael@nozbe.com. Feel free to email me. But for external communication with other people. But every time something is actionable to do, it lands in Nozbe. And if it's something actionable to do for somebody else, I just create tasks for them. I don't send them an email. I don't send them a message. I don't send them a WhatsApp. I don't send them a Slack even. Like I send them a Slack, for example, if I want to, like a Slack message, if I want to schedule a call, a Zoom call with them, for example, I want to talk to them one-on-one about something. But if I want them to do something for me, I ask them via a comment in the task in Nozbe.
All right. Mike St. Pierre, a small eternity ago, asked, Michael, how often for staff one-on-ones? I do mine once per week, but I imagine some teams vary. Okay, so this is how we do this. Well, I don't know about you, Michael, specifically, but we very rarely do like actual video meetings one-on-one between people. Like,
Yeah.
We do most of our communication one-on-one, if not publicly with everybody seeing it in a task in Nozbe or in a more specific tool like GitHub for code, then we probably do it over Slack. Sometimes two people meet over Zoom just to hash out some details, but honestly, not very often. At least not in my experience. We like definitely if you're working from home for the first time, I can see it being very useful to do one-on-one and like team meetings via Zoom way more often, because it takes a while to like completely change your mindset. But the end goal is you do one-on-ones occasionally, once every month, once every couple of months, maybe as a manager, as a leader of a team, with your people to make sure they're okay, to ask like how they're doing, etc., etc. Like anything that might have not come up in the course of normal work, and just to make sure on a personal level that they're doing well. But yeah, for general collaboration, it's not very often needed, right? If you're new to
Yes.
work from home, sure, but then mostly collaborate in comments in Nozbe on some other tool like that, or via Slack if I need something hashed out more quickly.
So we have something else that we do to combat like loneliness, so that people don't feel lonely at home, working just by themselves, not seeing people in the office. What we do is we do once a week like a kind of status meeting for the development team. For example, there is a status meeting so for people just to see each other, just talk about what's going to come up this week. It's usually like half an hour, and you're done. But this is but we ask for video actually, so that people can see each other. They can see each other's faces. They can see what's going on in their lives, but they don't talk like much. And for example, with my direct reports, with the VPs, I also have a meeting at 1 o'clock every Monday, 1 p.m. And this usually is like longer one, like an hour, maybe an hour and something, because we just go over like the big stuff that is going to be happening this week for all of us, and and very often what we do is, again, even though I own 100% of the company, we do decide together. So very often, like I bring up onto directors a decision I want to make, or I'm struggling with a decision, and I ask everyone to let me know what they think about this. So we do these kind of status meetings, but just once a week, and that's it. And one-on-ones we do every quarter, because we do a quarterly review. And then, for example, every VP of every team, like for example, VP of support will talk to all the support people, and then I will talk to VP of support also one-on-one. And this is a longer one-on-one meeting, but it's every quarter. This is like a 1 hour or maybe 1.5 hour meeting with somebody one-on-one. But this once a quarter, not And also what I do is as a CEO, I have like a project in Nozbe with tasks, everyone on the team, every person. And I choose them randomly, like every week or every other week, to talk to someone one-on-one, but just not too often. So every half a year, basically, just talk to somebody, like, how are you? What's up? Like, how is your life? How are things? Just a casual chat. So that's why I had to give people heads up, saying, if I, the CEO, tell you, can I have a moment with you? And don't be scared. I'm not letting you go. I just want to really just talk to you. So that I do that too, but not too often, really. Like, we focus on work, we focus on exchanging information via Slack and comments, and we're good. Like, it's already over communicating, because when you work from home, you have to write a lot. So we don't feel like we're very lonely, I think.
Let me tell you about the dev meetings. So as you mentioned, Michael, we do them once a week now on Monday morning. But what we used to do, and what I would recommend for people starting work from home, is we did them every morning. It was
Yes.
at 10 a.m. It's about between 8 and 13 people. Like, we ask people to come, but almost never is there everyone from the team, because if someone needs to start work later, or I don't know, kids to take care of, or has something to do outside, then they're just not there. But what we do is it takes like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and everybody in the team goes over what they were working on yesterday and what they're planning to do today. And I really recommend doing this for people who are new to working from home, because it's an easy way to get everybody on the same page. After everybody shares what they've been working on, what they're planning to do now, you can talk about the problems that people might have been facing. You get to see each other. If you're used to seeing each other at the office, it's going to be helpful. But the point is that if you hash out in the morning plans for today, the manager can speak up, give direction, whatever, then for most of the rest of the day, you don't need the video meeting, right? And people can actually work and focus. And especially now in this difficult period that's going to last for weeks, for who knows how long. Like right now, people have just a lot on their minds, and their work schedules are not going to be neat and tidy like 9 to 5, probably. If they have children at the house, especially, they have to figure out how to take care of house chores and everything. So expect that. So they also need some space to just focus on work. So do a short video meeting in the morning, see each other, figure out what yesterday, what's for today, what are the problems.
Okay, so there are two questions right now. They're coming from here for Spakyuk and for Per Moller. So I'm going to just answer them very quickly. So one question was about is this situation going to change mindset for remote working? We don't know. We're going to see. I think so. I believe so. The companies will have to realize that they have to be prepared for something like that, and they have to be prepared to have people working remotely. I think this is a big change coming. So that's my personal opinion. Second, how do you stop meeting inflation? We'll talk about it broadly on Friday. On Friday, we're going to talk about meetings and actually how we do meetings a little bit differently than everyone else, and how we believe is the right way to do meetings. So we'll talk about that in deeper, in more depth on Friday. So because today I will still want to get back to some tools that we use. So we'll talk more about meetings on Friday. Please join us on Friday, the same time. We'll talk about that. So stay tuned. It's going to be there. We will go through an example of a meeting that we do, and show you why, like, what are the stages of it, why we do what we do, and how we do it. So you're going to have the whole thing, the whole enchilada.
All right, I see 2 more questions from Instagram. So Neely Patrika asked before, what about setting priority? They get new tasks. How do they know whether it should trump existing tasks? Okay, so it's going to vary on the team and specific workflow. I'm going to tell you how we do this at Nozbe. So again, at Nozbe, we use Nozbe. We have the new app Nozbe Teams coming out soon, very soon, and we use that as the basis for our communication and figuring out what is there to work on. Okay, so in a project, which may represent an actual project or just like a bag of tasks for a specific team, a specific department, what have you, you can have sections, right? So for example, we have a project called Nozbe Teams Bugs for tracking all the issues with Nozbe Teams. And we have sections like critical, major, minor, and like priority, right? And we just like put them into buckets depending on which is it. You can drag and drop tasks to like visually figure out what's most important, because what's most important is at the top. That's another thing. Sometimes what we would do in some cases is create tags that would mean something, like a tag like urgent, or tag backend team, tag frontend team for different parts of the software development team, and just append it to the task so that you can see what's going on, right? We also have a like we discussed, we used to do this over video, now we do it over text, but still every morning we discuss what I've been working on yesterday, what I'm working on today, and everybody sees it. The manager, the leader of the team sees it, and if someone wants to work on something that's not the best thing to work on today, he or she will just mention to you like, hi, how about working on this? Another way that we signal to each other what's important is we have a list of tasks, and most of them are unassigned. Like they don't have the person responsible for that task, which means you can take it. But what it also means is that if I assign a task to somebody, then that person sees like what's assigned to them. And those are likely the most important things to work on.
Yeah, and they like this. That's why again we have the comments to tasks. That in the comments you can clarify. Okay, so Radek, you want me to work on this? How about the other thing? Oh yeah, okay. So you said the other thing is less important. Okay, I'm going to just then focus on this, and then I'm going to do the other one, the other thing. So you can talk about that in the comments as well to just iron out the details. So it's very useful. So another tool that you should be using, and then I would like to highlight before we tune out, is a tool where you can collaboratively work on a text. So in a visual way. So you can use Google Docs for that. We don't, but you can use Google Docs for that. We use Dropbox Paper because we use Dropbox anyway. We use Dropbox and we have our shared folders in Dropbox, but we use Dropbox Paper as well, which is a very nice interface. Again, also works on the mobile, on the iPad, and on the iPhone, where you can edit text and you can comment on text. This is really good. We will talk about Dropbox Paper more again on Friday when we talk about preparation for our meetings. But just to tell you that it's just a way to write text, and then you can comment on a chapter, on a paragraph, comment on just the one word, and this way you can collaboratively work on a text, together, and improve texts in a very visual way. So like a tool like this, Google Docs, Dropbox Paper, there is like Notion right now, there are other apps for that. We use Dropbox Paper. It works pretty well for us. So this is and this is really important because if you have an idea, you want to just show it to the world, and then you want people to give you feedback. So a kind of visual way to get feedback is very useful.
All right. Anybody have any more comments for today?
Yeah, let's check if there's, because we went through, like it's 40 minutes, man. Like we went overboard today, but good. Like I'm happy about it.
Yeah, we had plenty of questions, and we'll keep bringing this every day at the same time.
Yeah. All right. So maybe let's close for today. It's been a long one, and again, I encourage you to send us more questions like below this video. If when you watch it on YouTube, because we're gonna put it on YouTube. Also, please send your questions here. We're gonna review everything, and make sure, like, we want to know how often we should do this. We want to do this as often as possible right now, especially because with the coronavirus, everybody's being forced to work from home. Um, Here another there was another question on Instagram. How I would like to know how you distribute the tasks. So again, this is very specific to Nozbe and Nozbe Teams app that we are about to launch. So we will have at least one episode about Nozbe Teams app, and not as as an ad, but just a way of to see how we do it. And again, without getting specific into the app, when you create a pool of tasks, again, trust your people to choose something for themselves. Like, so I can tell you from my experience as the boss of a all remote company, as the manager, people look at me very often. They look at me like I'm naive or something, and maybe I am. But from my experience, people work more when they work remotely than less. It's actually, you have to sometimes tell people to just stop working.
Yeah.
Go outside. Because very often people just work a lot, and for me, very often as the leader of such a company, I have to uh, help people to find the work-life balance, actually, for them not to burn out, because people feel obliged that because I trust them, they want to give me their best work. And and uh, so I'm telling this to managers: really, lean in, jump in, show, give people, cut people some slack. People will work more for you because they see that they save time and stress on commuting. They save time and stress on dressing up, putting makeup, combing their hair, whatever. They save so much, and because you give them so much trust and you trust them to work, they will work for you very well. Like, I very rarely in the history of Nozbe we had a situation that somebody was really slacking off. And of course, in the first weeks we couldn't see that, but then when we saw that, the trust was gone and the person was gone from the company. There was no other way. There was no way for them to say, oh, I'm going to try better next time. No. I mean, if somebody is really not performing, at the end you will see it, and he's going to be out or she's going to be out, and it's fine. But usually most of the people who work with us, they deliver an outstanding work because that what you said, Radek, before, because the only thing they can prove that they are there is their work. Is something they put out. So really, it does require discipline. You're completely right. And it requires discipline to know when to stop. That's why we talked yesterday about routines, about schedules, about setting expectations to yourself and to your employees. So it's really the question of trust with remote work, and especially trust now. I mean, people are stressed out. People are worried about their families, about their parents, especially because they're right now, the most exposed. And yet they are going to be working from home. So help them out. Let them set it up and give them a chance to shine. They will shine. I'm telling you.
All right. We want to wrap it up real soon. So please comment with your questions tomorrow. But I want to just make very quick answers. And for specifics, please tune in tomorrow or the day after that or the day after that. So how do you distribute the tasks? Like, yes, we have a pool of tasks. And the way you can do it is have multiple projects. Like for us, we use the Nozbe Teams app, right? And for example, for building the app, there are a few different projects, and one of them is the main one, and it's just a pool of tasks, and everybody will pick the task they feel like or they know is the right one to choose. And there's another one for things which are written up but are not to be taken right now. It's fairly straightforward, and because it's not people just starting working on something like at the office and needing status meetings, but you specifically like click in the app to say, okay, I'm working on this, then everybody knows that you're working on this. Sparkyuk writes on Instagram, home working requires discipline to know when to stop. This is so true, right? This is so true. So in the next couple of weeks, if you're a manager, if you're a leader at a company, please have patience, please have empathy. This is a difficult time. People will not be as productive as they normally are working from home because it's a change. Not because working from home is bad, but because it's a change.
But it's a good investment.
It's a good investment, and in the long term, you're going to see that people will have the tendency to work too much, not too little, and that's the danger. Inbox zero, yes, only inbox zero, but actually don't really use email. Avoid using email for internal communication. Use email for talking to people outside of your team, outside of your company. We actually discussed this before at the beginning of today's Q&A. So check it out on YouTube for the whole video, or just tune in tomorrow and we can explain it in more detail.
Exactly. So we'll be here tomorrow at the same time, and the day after, and the day after. We'll, as I said, we will be talking more about how we distribute tasks and how we assign tasks and how we work on tasks. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about our meetings, and I think it's going to blow your mind, because we do meetings very differently but very effectively. So we'll talk more about all these things in the future episodes. So stay tuned. And we have to go out right now. It's just, I think it's much to digest, but keep the questions coming. We'll be answering them.
All right. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right.
Stop broadcast here and here. There you go. 46. Good. Okay. What do I do here? And I'm going to stop recording.